What's up, everybody? Welcome back to HOA MMA. AJ, how are you doing this week, my man?
This week's been good, man. I mean, I know that obviously compared to where you are, we're not known for really nice weather, but it's been sunny. It's been very warm. It's been a good week. It's been a good week, man. Everyone seems a lot more happier when obviously when the sun is out. So no complaints here. Also, big breaking news. I know it's nothing to do with fights, but kind of does. But there's a new Mortal Kombat game coming out, just been announced. Mortal Kombat 1. It's like a reboot of the original. It's the sequel towards 11 as well. I think they're just doing that. I think they're going to start again. Um, I love my fighting games like Tekken, Soul Calibur, Marvel versus Capcom 2. I grew up on Smash Bros. So yeah, I can't wait for that drops in September, and I'm going to be dishing out smoke on that game to all comers. Kung Lao's
Who
my guy, man.
who is your favorite Mortal Kombat character?
Kung Lao.
Okay, well,
I'll say Kung Lao and Raiden are like my top two.
okay.
They're like my top two.
I don't know why, but like I remember watching the first movie as a kid. Like it's obviously been a long time. It was the mid '90s when I saw it. I just always loved Sub Zero. I don't know, just the fact that he could freeze people and he was crazy with the hands. I don't know. He's just always the concept of freezing people was always really cool to me. Um, I used to play Mortal Kombat. Like we had this pizza place and they had it on the arcade version, and it was always super fun to play. The fatalities and all that stuff. I might get back into it. It's been a while. I saw that they were doing a part where you're gonna have like I forget the word they use, but like a partner to switch, like to help you in the fight. Have you seen
Mm.
that detail? Like, what do you like about
Yeah,
that concept?
that'll be kind of cool. That reminds me of like Tekken Tag a little bit. You know, when like you can just like switch in and switch out kind of thing.
Mhm.
So if it's something like that, that actually would be pretty cool. It's funny you touched upon like the movies. Have you watched the more like recent ones that came out just like a few years back? Those ones are actually pretty good.
I watched the one that came out recently. I didn't love it because I just thought that it had it. The main character was so unnecessary. Like I just thought you could have kept. I don't think it needed like a new character. Like he
Mm.
just wasn't a good main character, and the other stories that were in the movie were more important to me. So it should
Mm.
have just maybe it should have just followed like Scorpion or something
Yeah,
like that, and I think it would have been better. But I am excited for the second one now that like I'm confused by the Carl Urban casting for Johnny Cage, but I am interested to see how he does. So
yeah,
I will definitely watch it. It just I didn't love the remake.
yeah.
There's something about like the campy, like over the top
Soul
nature.
is mine.
Exactly. Like there's something about that campy, over the top, like when Jax rips his arms off. I never needed these and starts beating up the Centaur. Like
Yeah,
there's something about that like campiness that I really liked about the first two. Obviously not great movies, but I don't know. The remake just didn't click for me for some reason.
oh, that's fair, man.
The
That's fair, man.
crappy failed MMA fighter becomes like the guy. I don't know. I'll definitely watch the second one. I'm still in. It's just I didn't love it.
Fair.
Um, let's see what anything else happened this week. What's the big boxing fight? Is that this weekend?
Yeah, so Lomachenko against Devin Haney touched upon it last week.
Mm-hmm.
So for anyone who doesn't really know, because I know most people who know about fights in general will know about obviously who these guys are. You got Devin Haney, who is the undisputed lightweight champion, which kind of boxing weight is 135 pounds.
Mm-hmm.
So he is an absolute technician. Like he's so fundamentally sound. I know people call him boring, which I think is unfair because he literally just shuts people down. Like he has one of the best jabs going. He's faced against Vasily Lomachenko, who is one of the greatest technically skilled boxers I've ever seen, offense and defense. Like his movement is insane. Like he is. I know a lot of people got down on him after he lost against Tiafomo, but he's still literally up there. So you've literally got, in my opinion, the two best fighters in that weight class going head to head, and it's going to be for someone like me who obviously appreciates the more like sweet science of like boxing, this is going to be a very interesting chess match. So I'll definitely say if you're able to watch it, I think it's going to be on Top Rank. So I think over for you lot, it's going to be on ESPN. So
Yeah.
I'll say, yeah, I'm pretty sure. But I would definitely recommend watching that fight because that fight's going to be so interesting. It's going to be because Devin Haney's like 24, 25. So he's kind of showing like, you know, he's kind of more of the new age of boxing, whereas Loma is a little bit older, but he's still very much there. So it'd be interesting to see if obviously, you know, how this fight will play out. And I can't wait to watch it.
Yeah, no, I've seen some buzz starting to build around it, so I thought it was this weekend. And then you had mentioned it last weekend also. Let's jump into the big news, or what was the big news this past couple of days. Francis Ngannou signs with PFL officially. The deal is worth around 7 figures. He is the brand ambassador for PFL in Africa. He's obviously getting pay-per-view points on top of that also. And then the big thing that really came from it was the minimum salary of $2 million for his opponent. And he's allowed to box, which is what he clearly wants, and that's fine. How does that work in a business model? Minimum salary of $2 million for somebody you box or for somebody you fight in PFL when PFL's heavyweight division is pretty barren. How does that work financially for the company?
I can only imagine is that when they obviously sat down with him and he said these are obviously like my terms and this is what I want. I can only imagine that potentially that the PFL just said, okay, cool. We have an X amount of money up front and we're going to give this to you up front. I'm going to have this money like here ready for, let's say, because he's going to fight until next year.
Right.
So he's going to be in his late 30s at that point now. I mean, I think he's 36 or 35 already. So I think he's getting quite up there in age as it is. So I'd imagine if they're saying, okay, we're maybe going to get 3 to 4 fights out of you. We're going to set this money aside for you. So obviously that way, if like as you said, 2 million, I think it's a 2 million guarantee for anyone that fights against him. We're going to have this money ready to pay them. That is probably one of the ways I can imagine, unless PFL has a lot more money than obviously people think. Because if you think about it, whenever they hold all of their like leagues and like tournaments, each winner in each weight class they win $1 million. You know,
yeah.
So you can obviously imagine they probably have quite a lot of cash reserved, but considering how much they've obviously paid for him and all of the terms around there, I would imagine they've probably put quite a bit of money up front when everything was all signed and agreed on.
Yeah, and I mean it's a great deal for Francis. It's what he wanted. You can't really fault the guy for going out and getting what he wants. I just don't know. What is it? A 3 or 4 fight deal? I forget what it said.
I'm not too sure. I haven't really read how
long. But is PFL? I mean, PFL. I feel like to capitalize on Francis has to go out and get another heavyweight to really like build this first fight. And a lot of heavyweights are under contract with UFC. Is there a heavyweight you have in mind that's outside the UFC that can? Because here's the thing. I saw Ben Rothwell wanted to step up and fight him, which people at least know Ben Rothwell, but he would be the biggest name in PFL heavyweight division, and he's in bare knuckle boxing. They just work there. There's not a lot of options to make $2 million worth it to an opponent right now, and that's where I'm like confused on the business plan. Like Francis, sure, he's going to sell a lot of tickets for his first fight in PFL, but if you're just knocking out tomato cans, does it really matter?
Yeah, because I was even thinking about, I was looking, okay, let me look at all the other champions outside of the UFC in the heavyweight division. We obviously got Ryan Bader, who's in Bellator, and
they can't use him. So
yeah, and you can't use him. and I forgot the one championship fighter. He is the Canadian. He's the Canadian Indian, I believe.
Yeah. Let me look up his name real quick.
I think he beat Marlon Vera, who used to obviously fight in the UFC. And I was just thinking about just literally just about, you know, those two guys alone. Is there any other heavyweights even amongst that level that can obviously come over? And unless obviously someone can obviously bring it up to me, I can't think of anyone. It's going to be very hard to bring anyone credible because 90% of the best heavyweights in MMA are literally in the place where obviously Francis was before. Yeah. The only thing I can think of is that if they kind of, because he's not signed towards like a weight division, he's signed towards it's like the same thing as Jake Paul. So yeah, it's the whole super fight thing. Maybe if they get some sort of like athlete who does NFL or like NBA, like someone like that to come over, has some sort of like recognizable name. But the only problem with that is in terms of it being a fight, it's not going to be competitive at all.
Right.
So, and I think I've kind of just made peace with the fact that like the days of Francis competing against the top guys are done now. Mm-hmm. And regardless of what anyone thinks, Francis has won because he's literally got what he wanted, and he said like, I actually want to make a change. You know, I kind of want things to be better for MMA fighters. Like the fact that his opponents get $2 million, he could have easily just gone, okay, cool, I want to come here, but like if you want me to sign for you, yeah, I want this. But he said, no, I actually want this in place. You know, I want obviously my opponents get at least a $2 million guarantee. That obviously that way they have a chance to have money that can actually change their families' lives. Him being an ambassador for PFL in Africa is really huge in the sense that he really wants to build MMA over there in that continent, which, as we know, has kind of been untapped for a while. I know we've had Francis, Israel, Usman,
Duplessis.
Duplessis, Mohamed Dawodu. I shouldn't actually scoff for that because he is actually an African. Well, he is a South African, but we already know the context behind that as well. But like, Francis really said, like, I actually want to build something over there. You know, he said after the story that he's had to obviously the way he had to get into France and the struggles he had to go through, he wants to like build MMA over there. You know. So it really seems like he's kind of sacrificed his fighting legacy to make sure that, you know, in 5 to 10 years or 15 years time, he'll be remembered as the guy. Okay, he actually made things better for obviously MMA fighters. Like you may never know. Maybe in like 5 years, you would say, go, okay, we need to do this to make things better for like our fighters because you know he's talked about welfare as well, like things to be put in place. So. I don't expect to see exciting fights for him anymore, but I feel long term he could potentially like what this still could mean long term for obviously things that beyond just him could be massive, and that's something you have to kind of applaud it. Even though personally, like for obviously me as a fan. I'll rather see him fight against, you know, John Jones, you know, fights against Pavlovich, Aspinall, like those kind of guys. But those days are over, and at the end of the day, Francis has freedom and he's happy, and all power to him.
Yeah, no, it's an extremely admirable thing that he's doing in terms of his contract and what he's trying to do for Africa, you know, going forward, which is awesome. One last quick question on Francis. Is it a miss in Francis' entire career that he has not worn a Predator mask to the octagon?
That may change with the PFL because I think one of his things that he can also sign with other sponsors as well. So who knows? He can walk out and have that mask on.
Because you know how cool it would be? Like, you know how he did that little like announcement video and it had like the little Predator click at the end?
Yeah.
If that was like his opening, like the little click, and he came out with a Predator mask, that would be sick. So I'm hoping he does that. Let's move on to the UFC's response to Francis signing with the PFL. They immediately went into announcement mode. We got fight after fight, banger after banger. What was the fight that you liked the announcement the most of? What fight are you most looking forward to from the ones that got announced?
Where to start? I mean, that's like, I just want to say to touch on what you said, like, the UFC's marketing machine is undefeated because literally, as you said, Francis comes out, boom, and then literally within 24 hours, Dana's out here on TV saying we're announcing this, and literally all the hype was like, oh shit, like UFC 291 is a stat card. Like,
Right.
the fight I'm looking forward to most is Alex Pereira moving up, fighting against Jan. That fight is going to be interesting, and also that's crazy because you know how the memes about Alex has to like one up Izzy. He's moving on up against the only other guy who's obviously managed to beat him. Like if he goes out there and literally just smokes Jan, like the memes for that is going to be crazy because man. But taking away that fight, that bit aside, that fight's going to be very interesting.
Okay, so before we really get into it, do you think Jan's stupid enough to stand?
You know, he talks about that Polish power, man.
But that's what I mean is, do you think he's stupid enough to do that?
Nah.
Because like that seems like the only way for him to lose is if he literally just he stands there and wants to show off the power.
No, he won't, because even against Izzy, there was time in the second round. Izzy kind of tagged him a few times, and Jan went. He didn't like that, and he went, "I'm gonna go and wrestle you." So I had a feeling he won't go out and be that dumb to like, "I'm gonna stand with you over 3 rounds."
Yeah, no, I mean it just kind of depends on like where his pride is at, because if he's too proud, that's a good way for him to get caught and lose that fight. Was there any other one that caught your eye? Because what caught my eye was very confusing is the Costa versus Ikram fight.
Mm-hmm.
That guy Ikram came out of literally nowhere. He has 1 win in the UFC. Paulo Costa was on the brink of fighting Chimaev. What I understand the middleweight division is trying to push in new guys and stuff, but isn't that a little soon?
Ikram is good. Like Ikram's very, very good, and stylistically, he can give Costa a lot of problems. Like he can really bother him. I don't want to say a stylistic nightmare, like in terms of like matchups, but that could potentially be one where if Costa isn't on the ball, Ikram has a good chance of obviously winning that fight. But again, it's like as you said, it's clear when it comes to 185 pounds, they just need they need new guys because we already know Izzy has cleared out everyone, and literally like the person who's behind him, Rob, has cleared out everyone else as well. So it's great because we've got a fight night coming up with Strickland against Albus Magomedov.
Yep.
I kind of believe as well. So it's clear that the UFC, any chance they get just to have fresh faces in, they are literally going to push it. I wouldn't be surprised by around, let's say, end of the year, if Bo Nickel keeps on winning, if he's going to be there or thereabouts within that top 10 at some point, they're really going to push that. But it's very interesting. Like it's kind of like you said as well, talking about Costa against obviously Hamzat. That has me thinking Hamzat's fight is probably going to be elsewhere.
Usman.
Yeah.
A lot of back and forth between those guys. But Dana keeps calling him in 185 pounder though. So it's kind of confusing on what exactly is going on. Exactly. Because like the boss is saying one thing and both guys are chirping on Twitter, where are we going? Because Usman needs a fight and needs to fight.
And Hamzat not needs. Hamzat has to fight. He has to fight.
When was the last time he fought now? Was it Holland?
Yeah.
Holland's fought 3 times since then. Like, come on, dude.
Crazy.
So yeah, no, UFC. And then let's just touch on it briefly. I know you're not a fan of it as much. I just think it's cool. I think they dropped the ball with it, and that's really the problem. So there's no lineage, like you talked about when we talked privately about it. The BMF title's back. Gaethje versus Dustin. It fits these two guys. Is it possible to make this like, in retrospect, oh, the BMF title matters now? It started with Dustin and Gaethje again. Like it's important again, like going forward. Like they dropped the ball on it. That's all.
Potentially, the only problem is that it's very clear that obviously the belt is used as a prop now. Like it'll be kind of different, like after obviously Jorge against obviously Diaz, if you kind of like said, okay, I'm gonna fight against someone of that ilk a little bit more, and that fight, it lost his lackluster after when he obviously beat Nate. He came last minute against obviously Usman, like he lost. People are like, okay, but he came on like 6-8 notice. That shows he is a bad MF. But again, in the rematch, he literally got smoked. The fight after, he literally got ragdoll. So it's like, you're not really the baddest MF, right?
Right.
And don't get me wrong, Gaethje and Poirier 2, belt or no belt, that like everyone wants to see that fight. Everyone will literally flock out to see that fight. That will pack out any fucking fight card, any pay-per-view card, just based on those guys alone. But it's very unless your name is obviously Conor McGregor, like no one, and I mean no one can actually justify headlining a non-title pay-per-view. So it's clear they've obviously done that. They say, okay, we've always got Poirier, Gaethje, two fanfares, two people who just are in absolute dogfights. They fit that. It's easy for us to obviously, okay, cool. We're gonna have the main event, and obviously, here's a belt on the line, because it's clear that obviously other champions are gonna fight later on in the year, and they just needed something to kind of justify having a pay-per-view card within that time of the year, and that's kind of what it is.
It's a vehicle. It's a vehicle for the main event. I understand.
Yeah.
I'm saying going forward, could this be the start? Let's say Poirier wins. I don't see Poirier not saying, I'm putting the title on the line against the next guy I fight. Like he seems like the kind of guy that would carry it and be that. Like Justin seems like the same kind of guy in terms of, hey, I'm the baddest motherfucker. I'm putting it on the line against the next guy I fight. I feel like those are the kind of guys that will still like keep it alive. I know it's, as of right now, it's just a vehicle and it could be a prop, but I feel like it at least gives the possibility that they could be using it down the line more and like keep it going. But the UFC doesn't always follow through on things the way it should. Let's get into this. This past weekend, UFC Fight Night, Almeida versus Rosenstruik. I'm going to give you a couple of my highlights from the card, and then we can get into it a little bit more if you'd like. Highlights was Ian Gary, really, really just exquisite hands, feet, literally, hell of a KO / TKO. Props to Almeida getting Rosenstruik out of there in the first round with the submission. And then Johnny Walker, he just beat the shit out of Anthony Smith. We'll touch on Anthony Smith here in a second. And then Carlos Hulberg, another great performance from him. Tell me, out of those guys, who were you most impressed with?
That is a hard one. I'm gonna say Almeida only because even though I kind of like thought the fight was gonna go there, I was so surprised how he made it literally was easy. It was obviously the fight starts, he goes in for like the takedown. He doesn't really get much of it, but he's putting Rosenstruik under pressure. He's putting him under pressure. And the moment he takes him down, like the second time, and he actually gets him down, that was it. He literally did what he did. He literally got him on top. Like control was immaculate. Ground and pound even. He was beating him up a little bit, but he was doing that to basically obviously set him up to eventually, I'm gonna go and take your back and I'm gonna choke you out. And it was complete flawless. Yeah. So I was very impressed with that. And it kind of confirms what I thought. Almeida's
you predicted a submission.
Yeah.
For Almeida. So I'm pretty sure, I don't know I forget what round you said, but yeah, you called it pretty clearly.
Yeah, but also surprised it happened so early. But it's clear Almeida is here. Like, a lot of people talking about, Pavlovich, Aspinall. I know people were still down on Garn, but Garn's still thereabouts. Almeida's in that group of that next wave of like heavyweights, and he's going to be a problem for people because a lot like apart from maybe Aspinall and John, and maybe Pavlich towards a certain extent because he does have a background in obviously wrestling as well. When it comes to obviously like grappling, a lot like most heavyweights are not really going to live with him,
Yeah.
and even with that, he can throw hands as well. Like, don't just think if you're able just like if you keep it on the feet, like you're good. All of his wins are either come from submissions or literally TKOs, um, and it's crazy how he's very, very athletic for someone that big, and he looks like he can. I know he fought at 205 as well. He can easily make that weight. Like he doesn't.
Yeah.
He's crazy good. Like, and I know he called out Ty, and with that,
That's what I was going to ask you. I was going to ask you, is that next?
and that makes sense because he knows with that I can like considering that Ty is pretty much more of a stand-up guy. That's going to be rinse and repeat most likely because if he takes Ty down, Ty is going to be in a world of trouble. But
Yeah.
Almeida was great. Like I was really, really impressed with it. Very impressed.
No, I'm with you. Obviously, let's jump into the lows of the UFC fight night. We'll start with Rosenstruik. I think he's done. I think it's just it wasn't competitive, and he's fought long enough where it should be competitive against a guy like Almeida. Even if he loses, it should be competitive. What do you think happens next with him? Is he done, or do you think he keeps going in the UFC?
I don't think he's done only because he ran into a matchup nightmare. He was kind of tailor made for him. Like there was 9 out of 10 times Almeida would win just because he has Rosenstruik has a glaring hole in his game. We saw that when he fought against Curtis Blades. He gets beat, and to be fair, he's only lost against elite guys. He's only lost against Francis when he got blown out the building, when he got absolutely just battered. Blades can pretty much kind of just ragdolled him, and Volkov was too big, too long, and literally kept him at bay. And even though in that fight, that finish was kind of early, he kind of did what he did best. You know, it really, and obviously Almeida now, who I think is a potential title contender, like at some point. I think I'm really high on him. So he's only really lost towards the best guys. Everyone else who he's fought, he literally just knocks him out. Like he has really good kickboxing and he has crazy power still. I think once he starts losing to people who he shouldn't be losing to, that's when I'll say he's done. So that's why I'm saying he still has a chance there, but it's clear he's going to be in that gatekeeper role for now.
Yeah, and he kind of already was, but let's touch on the other low of the UFC for me, fight night. Anthony Smith, he's a guy that I've supported for a long time now. It's been pretty heavily debated on Twitter and social media what exactly happened in that third round when he was, asking Johnny or, telling Johnny Walker that he was, hurting his family, coming after his family. People were talking about PTSD and things like that for Anthony Smith. I think it's gotten to the point now where it might be time to ride off into the sunset. And, him and Bisping do a great job on their podcast. And he still does a solid work for the UFC in terms of his broadcasting and breakdowns and things like that. It just wasn't all that competitive of a fight. And when you're touching on something as personal and as dangerous as that situation was for him in the middle of a fight in which Johnny Walker has no idea what you're talking about, it just comes off in a really negative way for me and a lot of people based on Twitter. So what do you think going forward for Anthony Smith?
It's just sad, really, because he looked old. Like, he looked very old in that fight, and you know, this is someone who's not even 35 yet. Like, for someone who's fought in so many fights as obviously he's had, he's still not old in years, but in terms of like MMA like years, he's quite old in that regard, if that kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
But even then, he looked very slow, and he just looked off. Like, it was like if there was any like 50-50 moments, he was coming in last at every time. You know, especially against when Johnny Walker was very composed and measured. He wasn't doing these like crazy dynamic like things in that fight that much. He will like explode every now and then, but it was a very like patient and a methodical pace.
Mm-hmm.
You would think if that was the pace that the fight was going to go, you thought Smith would have a chance there if he really put like his foot down, but he can never get going. I feel like any talks about him fighting in like the upper like tier of at like heavyweight are kind of done.
Yeah.
At least basically for obviously for now. I mean, I am literally only a fan. I'm not going to tell when a guy should like retire, even though there are times when we can clearly see that someone's done. Anthony is probably going to take some time, and it should have like a think about it. It wasn't as if he got beat up bad. It wasn't as if he literally got knocked out and just got beaten like from pillar to post over like 3 rounds. He was just very lackluster. So maybe just if he takes just like 9 months out, a year out, kind of just like refresh, like take some time away, spend time with family, and just have like a think. Maybe he can come in a bit more, fresh and see from there. But overall, yeah, it just wasn't a good look, and it was kind of just sad to see someone who was just clearly not there.
Yeah.
And in this sport, like if you're not there mentally, like if you're not like switched on between the years, this sport isn't for you. Right. But again, that isn't obviously like for me personally to say. So maybe just just take some time out and see.
That's fair. That's a much more fair answer than I gave. I just think it just looked like it was over, and it just looked like there was so much going on in his head that it just looked bad. Is there anything else you want to touch on from that fight night card?
I do want to give Gary like some love, because like both I said last week, D-Rod was going to be he's like the biggest test so far, and he passed with an A+. Like he was great. Literally footwork, like everything in which you said. His footwork, his striking was crisp, and the way he set up that finish, people not really looking, because he was throwing body kicks a lot, and they're bothering like D-Rod, and he saw, obviously he was like, okay, cool, I'm gonna keep kicking you around here, and the one time when you basically put down your hands down low, thinking I'm gonna kick here, I'm gonna go up here, and he caught him clean and put him out, and I have to give him a lot, and I have to rate him, because he called that Neil Magny. I know people are gonna say Neil Magny's not that guy anymore. He's getting older, but Neil Magny will give anyone a good fight. Like, only really good fighters beat Neil Magny. Like, only really, really good guys beat him.
That's not a layup call out. That's not a layup at all.
Not at all. Not at all. Like, it's like you have to be like a unicorn if you're like when Shavkat literally just put it on him and just scored him. Like that if you want to see it to happen to Neil Magny, that's very rare. That's very, very, very rare.
Neil Magny can beat Ian Gary. Like that's a 50-50 fight for sure.
Very much for sure. But I do kind of like now, like, we always got him, we've always got Jack Della. We got like these new like welterweights coming through now. So it's gonna be very interesting to see who he gets matched up with next. But yeah, like I was like great, like it's very clear that obviously, that the UFC only have it on pay-per-view events and like only on pay-per-view events and obviously big fight nights when they have like crowds on now. You can kind of say they only give Gary that big like buzz and exposure. I feel like, if he does keep winning, like he probably is going to be a star. I know people are going to talk about, oh, he's like a Conor 2.0, he's like a wannabe, but like he's very much like he kind of embraces the fact that, okay, cool. Like I did MMA because I was a big fan of him, but I'm still my own person.
Yeah,
and you have to, appreciate that. But yeah, like this is someone you can see he could be potentially be like a really really huge star.
Yeah, no, he's
very
got what it takes to go to the next level. And you beat a Neil Magny, and you're at the next level. So he's got a big opportunity coming up. Hopefully they make that fight because that's big time.
I think Neil Magny's fighting Philip Rose soon, so I think he's already booked up. So maybe he may have to wait a little bit later. Or
I didn't see that. I didn't see that yet. But okay, so if he's already booked, then that's an interesting call out. All right, let's jump ahead. We got the fight night this weekend. Dern versus Hill. Pretty solid card. We're going to jump into the main card of this one. Michael Johnson versus Diego Ferreira. Michael Johnson has been doing this for a long time. Really, Diego Ferreira's, he's older than Michael Johnson, but Johnson, has some more UFC experience. How do you see this one shaking out?
This fight is going to be a case of, can Michael Johnson keep it on the feet, and can obviously Diego Ferreira take it to the ground where he can use his, grappling. A couple of years ago, Diego Ferreira was kind of seen at this lightweight dark horse. I remember when he submitted Anthony Pettis, and he was seen as, okay, he's going to be that guy who can maybe make a run. It hasn't turned out for him like that, but he's still much a very good fighter. I'm going to take Michael Johnson though. I reckon Michael Johnson may catch him with something. He always has that moments at least once or twice a year where like he'll literally just catch someone, and I feel like he'll keep it on the feet enough where he can get to work.
Yeah. Ferreira has not won since that Pettis submission. Wow. But he fought Benny DeRouche, he fought Gillespie, and he fought Gamrot since then. So it's not like he's had any really great favorites given to him. I like Michael Johnson. He's just the kind of guy that could lose to anybody, though. Like that's the thing. Like, he beat Poirier back in the day, and then he'll lose to somebody like Clay Guida. Like it's just the weirdest freaking thing. And I've never even seen Clay Guida win a fight, so I don't know how that happened. But for some reason, I'm gonna go with Ferreira just to mix it up because Michael Johnson, like I said, he could just lose to anybody. He just could not even show up, and just it's a matter of, can you get him down? Can you get Michael Johnson on the ground? Michael Johnson's not a bad wrestler, but I think Diego's got a couple more tools in the bag.
Sure.
Next fight is Andrew Falejo versus Joaquin Buckley. Joaquin Buckley. Still one of the greatest knockouts in history.
The greatest knockout in my personal opinion. Like if we're literally just taking out like context and just looking at KOs, like just purely on the technique, that is literally the most impressive and spectacular knockout I've ever seen.
It's You're
that KO right there is literally Tekken 3 Harang, Taekwondo, literally right there, man, right there.
It's the perfect knockout.
Same.
Who do you got winning this one? Is it Buckley?
I do have Buckley. I know this is his first fight coming down to welterweight. Fayelo is a good fighter. He had that little like run recently. He don't get me wrong. Felo does have like some really mean hands, but if obviously Buckley can if his power translate the way obviously the way that he was like KOing people up at 185, where he was very much undersized.
Yes,
He's able to make a really good weight cut, and his power is still there against people not as big.
Mm-hmm.
I do feel like he can definitely make some noise. So I have him winning. I do have him getting a pretty good KO probably within the first two.
Okay. I'm also going to take Buckley. Just a fan. Obviously been a fan since he did that crazy kick. Faleo, like you said, is a good competitor. Both guys need a win here. They really do to going forward. But I got Buckley. I think he knocks him out early in the second.
Yeah.
Next fight on the agenda: Emily Ducati versus Lupi Godinez. Looks like Godinez is the favorite here if you go by Vegas. How do you see this one going down? Godinez really strong with her takedowns.
I do have a winning. I'm actually a really big fan of Lupi. I think from her very first fight, I'm a really good fan of her. Like, I'm a really big fan of her in the sense that she has really good takedowns, and she has pretty good hands as well.
Yeah.
Like, she is she's very sharp. Like, she's very technically sound, and that was really the first thing that really caught my eye. So I have a win in pretty convincingly. Pretty convincing. I'm really high. I'm really high on her, to be honest.
Both these ladies have lost to Hill, which is the main event of this card. But I also have Godinez as the winner here. I think it doesn't matter where she takes it. I think she's got it on the hands and on the ground. It'll be interesting to see if she wants to get the knockout or if she wants to just kind of drown her. But I'm going to go with Godinez with I'm going to go with a submission to mix it up.
Okay.
Knockout and drowning her is too fun. She's going to try something different. Get a submission win. Next fight is Shabazier versus Anthony Henderson. Or Hernandez, I'm sorry. How do you see this one shaking out? This is a good one.
This is my sleeper for fight of the night. You know, Edmund, I know he was tipped to be, like he kind of burst on the scene very, very early. When he obviously rose in, when he fought against like the top guys at 185 pounds, he came up short. He kind of got beaten up pretty badly. He wasn't he wasn't ready for that just yet. But he's literally still very good. On the feet, I do give him the edge. But Anthony Hernandez, do not count him out.
He's the favorite.
Really?
Based on the odds, he's the favorite.
That's very interesting. He has sneaky good grappling, considering that he managed to choke out Rodolfo, who is a multiple-time BJJ champion. Like, he choked him out, which was crazy. This fight is going to be a fun one. I do probably have Edmund winning late.
Okay.
I just feel like he has made a few changes. He has improved in his last few fights as well. I feel like he'll do just enough to be able to utilize his skills on the feet.
I'm gonna go with Hernandez simply because Ronda Rousey.
Wow, that's paid. That's painful.
Sometimes you got to be petty with these decisions. I'm going with Hernandez via Ronda Rousey. So you can shape that up however you want to.
That basically means either two things: Anthony Hernandez is going to run through him, or Anthony Hernandez is going to catch a crazy head kick and put him down.
I'll let you guys decide which one, but I'm going to go with Hernandez to win this one. Main event time: Mackenzie Dern versus Angela Hill. Dern 12-3. Angela Hill getting back into the mix. Did you see her complaining about the UFC rankings?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, I literally saw it like an hour
she's
ago.
lost to like 2 through 11, and she thinks she's ranked too low. I want Mackenzie to Dern to win just because of that stupidity. Angela Hill's not even a bad fighter. She's 38. She's a little past her prime, in my opinion. But that comment was so stupid when you've lost as many times as she's lost. Yeah, give me Dern to get the win.
I do. Well, first of all, I know a lot of people are pissed about this being like a main event fight. People saying this isn't.
It's pretty light.
Yeah. I mean, if they think that, then there's a few main events coming up soon where people are really gonna be mad at.
Yeah.
But this is just a case of, can obviously Angela Hill keep it on the feet? We know that she's very like solid everywhere. Even though Mackenzie done hands, have obviously improved a lot. It's very clear. If this fight was to obviously get on the ground, Dern has a huge advantage over that. I have Dern probably getting submission by round 2 or 3.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. As many great fights as they announced, there are some stinkers coming up too. So it's kind of a mixed bag.
To be fair, before this whole announcement, people were like, "Oh, the UFC for the next couple of months is going to be very, very weak," and then Dana goes, "Here you go, down."
Like, he definitely told him to fuck off with the announcements. Yeah, we both got Dern taking this one, and that's the main coverage of the fight night this weekend. AJ, what else do you got for us? Anything else? How many times have you watched the Dune trailer now?
It's okay. So for me, it's a mix of two things I watch a lot right now. It's either the Dune trailer or I watch Izzy knocking out Pereira. Like, those are the two main things for me right now.
God, you beat a guy. You beat a guy one time.
But I also want to show someone a bit of love. I want to show one of so as anyone who watches HOA, you obviously got me, you've obviously got myself and Doug over here. You've got Doug and Kinsey on the other side. I want to give a shout out to one of Kinsey's favorite eyes of all time.
Wow! Shout out to Biggie Smalls. That's a hell of
If anyone who knows Kinsey well knows how much he loves Notorious.
He's one of the biggest fans of Biggie that I've ever.
Like,
it's really hard to fathom you being a bigger fan of Biggie Smalls than Kinsey is.
I know, right?
It's impressive, I can't wait till he hears this and hears this fantastic shout out. He's gonna be so excited to be here talked about on this podcast, and his appreciation for the art of Biggie. So I appreciate you shouting him out because he's gonna really love it.
Give Me the Loot, man. It's a classic. It's one of my favorite songs ever.
I mean, I grew up on the 10 Crack Commandments, so it's something. AJ, good episode. We didn't have a ton to get into today. A little shorter than our usual episode, but we will be back next weekend to break this down, and then we'll get into what's going forward. Guys, hit us up on Twitter, hit us up on Instagram, and obviously like and follow or like and subscribe on YouTube. And we're just going to keep trying to grow this podcast to be what it can be. AJ, I will talk to you next week, man.
Take care, man.
Peace. HOA out.